Yeah, interesting. I mean, I look at those guys now, and there's a whole bunch of them. I'd say it's probably like between 50 and 100 of these podcasters now that are out there that are part of the podcast industrial complex.
Yeah.
The pick, we'll call it the pick. And um, there's all these agencies now that are constantly on the lookout for these podcasters now. So if they've got some sense of structure or some sort of format or program or whatever the case is, and they contact them and said, oh, there's this sponsor really likes your content, wants to know if you'd be interested in running some ads. And it's like the sponsor has no idea who these people are. It's just that they farm that out to an agency. But these agencies are then booking these ads with these people. And,
Right.
now you're going to be right in the middle of your podcast talking about politics and tech. You're gonna read an ad about male skincare products.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's ruined it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely destroyed the entire industry now, and that's what it's become. But the flip side of that is that once you do show some initiative and you've got a few episodes under your belt and you sort of show that you know how to do the job, then I think there's these agencies now that come and they bring you into their corral. They bring you into their within their fold of how to, and they polish you up. They say, well, here's the way you should format your show. Here are the kind of guests that we can line up for you, and you should be going for. You need to get yourself an editor so that you're not doing everything. And they help them ramp up. And Danny Jones and Julian Dorey is another one who I have this theory now because I listened to a podcast with the two of them, and they were talking about how Danny Jones helped Julian Dorey get to where he is today. And they kind of, they didn't give away the whole farm, but they talked a little bit about that coaching that's going on. And so now it makes sense to me because you start looking at, Joe Rogan is kind of the godfather of it all. And he wasn't the first, but he was the first one to make it big like that. And you think about it now, it's like they're all using that same format. It's the same as hit radio back in the 70s when that took off, right? Like all of a sudden, every radio station was programming their own music and their own style and their own, what are called, clocks. And then all of a sudden, I can't remember the name of the guy that came along now, but he was kind of the inventor of the hit radio format. And that's when everything, that top 40 format came in, and then they all started using the same thing. We had what was called a hot clock, and you start off at the top of the hour with a station ID, and then you played the number one song of that era, and then you played another station ID, or you talked over the intro and you played another song. Then you had a commercial break at the 10, you had another at the 20, bottom hour ID, 40 and 50, and then back up to the top of the hour, and you repeated that throughout the entire day. And then you had the different day parts would break down, and all of that, and it just homogenized the entire business. Now every radio station sounded the same.
Advertising is the fucking poison pill. It really fucking is, because advertising encourages a free model. Radio became free because it was propped up by advertising. People will not pay for what they have grown accustomed to receiving for free.
That's right.
So you can't break out of that model anymore.
But the advertising was based on the ratings, because that was
that's
how
what I'm saying.
you charged for it.
That's what led to that repetitive system.
That competitive system.
They became slave to advertising because no other business model was an option anymore.
Correct.
I think Sirius Radio largely proved that. It's a fucking amazing service.
Yep.
But nobody will pay for that shit.
Well, CKUA.
Yeah.
So then you come at it from the other side, and every 6 weeks you're having another marathon where people have to give you another $3 million.
Yeah. PBS too,
Yep.
PBS has amazing shows.
Yep.
It's probably one of the better historical networks we have.
Yep.
Most people, including myself, largely ignore it.
Yep.
And I don't know why we're like that. Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of interesting. Anyway, I think we're in progress with the Fritter Hollow podcast.
Yeah.
This is what, episode 9, episode 10?
This would be 10.
10. Well, that feels like some kind of milestone.
It does.
You can get us at fritterhollow.com. On our website, you'll see pictures of us, a little blurb about us. You'll get links to all the places you can catch the podcast, including our YouTube. And you'll find our email address there if you want to drop us a line at hello@fritterhollow.com. With Dan, as always, It is a Friday morning. We're usually, I think, typically do this on the weekends, but we're going to try Friday morning out here. How you been?
Good. We're a little bit. Are we having a James or are we not?
I'm saying no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think let's try to take this a little bit of a different direction.
Okay.
If for no other reason, I don't want to sink any more time into trying to bring a guest on unless there's a very clear purpose.
Okay. I'm good with that. I did go back and reproduce all of the episodes and added chapter markers.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, that's no problem. But it was interesting. I should have gone back and done the first one first, and then made my way chronologically. But I went backwards, so I finished off with the first episode, and I was surprised when I listened to that one at how sort of on track we've been. Like it's really quite interesting. And I think if we ever feel like we're getting off track, it would be good to go back and listen to that first episode and just as a calibration tool,
And we're going to be able to use a lot of these chapters markers you've created in our little Obsidian project too, right? When we start linking.
Yes,
things. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. I haven't had a chance to. I was busy, but I will definitely get to that in terms of just testing it out.
Okay.
I'll do a local build of it first, just to see if it works, and then we can have so much fun with that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
All right, I want to, before it slips my mind, I want to
Yeah.
tell you my personal podcast project, which I might reference to death today because it's relevant to a few things I want to talk about.
Okay.
I'm finished the rough draft of the third chapter. I finished it yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah. It has really shown me, this project so far, that I think I am very interested in people's inner worlds. And I wouldn't mind exploring. There's a few things I'd like to explore. One of them is I wouldn't mind exploring the concept of some sort of podcast that dealt with people's inner experiences, the inner experience of an individual. What makes one person's inner experience different than another's, and what are the similarities? What are the differences? What are the similarities, and why? What does that do? I feel like that is a really, really underexplored area. Could be wrong. And I mean, it's also possible that it's an underexplored area because it's very difficult to get people to open up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at the things I'm writing right now and I get scared about that level of openness with the public. So like, I don't know how we would find people.
Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, you'd need, that would be a huge part of the process for sure. But you actually said this in a message to me on Discord. You said people can sense a protected story.
Yeah,
and that's so.
It's true.
Relevant. That is so, on the money.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this, right? Because like, people listening to this don't really understand what I'm doing yet. You do. To write that level of memoir requires you to be 100% transparent.
Yeah.
People are just going to viscerally sense that you're keeping things back.
Yeah.
Which defeats the purpose of the project.
Well, and that transparency is like an onion. Like you keep peeling back layers. Like I thought I was being transparent, but I guess I wasn't.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, I'm a year into thinking about this stuff and like thinking about it in terms of making it a story. And yeah, you're right. I'm still peeling back the onion. So that would be another problem too. If we have a show where we're bringing on other people and talking about their inner worlds, like, well, that process might take them a year.
Yeah.
To unwrap everything. Because I don't think people are conscious that the things they believe, the things they say, the things they want, the things they hope for and dream, like all of that is determined by your previous experiences.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're that conscious of it, and they don't see how the pieces connect.
So it almost seems to me then like you wouldn't do an episode per story; you would do a series per story, and the first episode would be that first layer of the onion, right? Where it would be.
That's interesting.
Here's my thing, and then each successive episode you'd keep going deeper, right?
So each individual could almost be a season.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Or a series, like not necessarily a season, but that it would be a standalone series.
There's something here that interests me.
I think it's a very good idea. We'll put a pin in this one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of obstacles with this. I'm not sure, like,
because it would be really interesting in terms of exploration. Like if you're listening, especially if you binge listen, right? Like let's say there's 8 episodes or whatever, and you start off and you think you know the story, and then the next it reveals a bit more and then a bit more, and then there's some confrontation because now the person's completely changed their mind. And it's like, well, I thought you were talking about this. Turns out that's not it.
Yeah.
That's compelling, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it might be a project that'll be easier for us to do once my podcast is finished. Like mine could end up being the first season of the show, so to speak.
Well, like
it provides a template. It shows people what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I don't see, like, you don't we don't have time for you. We don't have time to reveal all of the layers of you getting to your base truth. We need to go there. We need to tell the story. Yeah. So in that way, yours is different.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think the evolution of story, if you want to look at it as a subtopic, is that's the process. That's the process by which people come to terms with whatever they had to experience, or whoever they are, or where they're going, or where they're not going, where they failed, whatever, is that it's that layer process of discovery.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I mean,
that's very interesting.
I think people are interested in other people's lives to a degree because they are looking for differences from themselves and for similarities.
Well, that it's the mirror effect, right?
Right.
Like, people are interested in other people's lives only because they see themselves in those lives.
Right. Yeah. But not very often. Like, it's always superficial stuff. When I listen to podcasts or watch documentaries or biographies, anything like that, it's generally speaking always superficial. It's never the deep stuff. Like why. My friend won money and I was really jealous. Like, things like that don't get admitted. Or my wife's having more success at work than I am and I feel ashamed of that.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of stuff that I think people really resonate with and they're starved for.
Well, I think that's where S-Town went. That's why it's the most downloaded podcast series of all time.
And I alluded to this last time. I don't think we're having these conversations, and I don't even think I'm making my own podcast without S-Town.
Yeah.
Like it showed me, like, and what I'm doing is not an S-Tone clown. Yeah. Or S-Town clone.
Yeah.
Rather. But
that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not even going to try.
S-Town showed me though what is possible.
Yes.
And that there's not limits and that you don't have to stick to like a prescribed format.
That's right.
And that was huge. It was like learning that a song doesn't have to go verse, chorus, bridge.
That's right.
It applied that to storytelling.
It does if you want to become part of the podcast industrial complex.
Yeah.
And you want to have sponsors and you want to actually make a living doing it and have a small team of 8 people, then you have to.
Yeah.
But if you're eschewing, I don't know what that word, I don't know how to pronounce that word. If you're setting aside those requirements, then really anything's possible, right. and by experimenting, S-Town was a huge gamble for them. I mean, there was a lot of people stake their careers and reputations on that.
Yeah, inspirational as hell. And I mean, I have learned about myself, if nothing else, my takeaway from these past couple of years, I'm driven by 2 things. I'm driven by meaning. I want to do meaningful stuff. I want to make meaningful stuff. And I'm very relational. I want to talk to people. I want to learn about people. I want to see what our similarities and differences are. I want to help people. Like those are my 2 main drivers. So I'm never like... And the downside of that is I'm never driven by money. It never really occurs to me, which I guess is maybe a nice problem to have, but it's also kind of a curse because I get involved in all these projects that are unsustainable because they cost money and never bring anything in.
Yeah, I mean, again, when in the olden days, you made your art and then you went to work and made your living, right?
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm personally okay with that, but it's difficult to build a team that way. Like me and you found each other, but there's not a lot of us, man.
Well, I still think, I look at, Jason, and I look at the bands that he's in, and I mean, those are people who are doing it for no money. Like they're, and they're putting, putting a lot of effort into it. I mean,
But I'm sure Jason would have many struggle stories of people that he was hoping he would work with and hope would stick to the band, and even himself.
Sure.
He's had his own kind of commitment
Oh,
issues,
sure.
right? Like,
Absolutely. I mean, sure, it's tough. Absolutely. You know, it's easier to make a feature film than it is to.
and those whether they're his or other people, those commitment issues are a lot fewer and further between if it's paying huge bills.
Yeah.
If you're making $1 million doing something, that goes a long way for your commitment level.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it can work the other way as well, and that's that you can end up in a band where you can't stand anybody, but you don't want to give up the money. So
I think most people with a job know what that feels like.
Yeah.
You end up doing something you'd rather not.
That's right. That's right. I kind of went down the rabbit hole this last week into documentaries that were made in the 70s and the 80s. Some of them were made in the 2000s now, but they were extremely well put together. We talked previous episodes. We talked about documentaries, and I don't know why. When I get in here, I kind of lose my.
It's a dry room.
I think it's the air that moves. Yeah, it's dryness is one thing. So pardon me, but the the essay videos that are extremely easy to make now in terms of like technically.
Yeah.
Because you just need to go and get a bunch of B-roll footage from story blocks and record your voiceover and it's done. But these old school documentaries now had like hundreds of people working. Like the credits roll, right? And you've got 50 people, that contributed to it. In some way, shape, or form, and the money came from, arts groups and provincial groups and whatnot. Like it was fully funded, and these documentaries now sort of stand as a testament to, like an era where a really good quality story was told, and I don't want to lose sight of that.
No, me neither.
I don't want, especially as we have AI now coming in. And doing a lot of that work now for us. And I'm not throwing too much shade on that because it'll be interesting to see where we go with that. But for gosh sakes, we need to make sure we somehow preserve those old school documentaries. And one of them in particular that I came across again, I'd seen it a long time ago. It was done back in 2013. It was Slums. Cities of Tomorrow.
Right.
And we've talked about homeless people, the homeless equation in previous episodes. And that sort of, I kind of went down that rabbit hole again because I was looking for the language to explain what I was feeling about this. I've tried telling a number of people about my ideas in terms of helping homeless people. And I feel very inadequate. I'm not an architect. I talk to architects and I talk to city planners and I talk to people. And I just, my ideas fall flat. But this one particular author, Robert Neuwirth, who wrote a book called Shadow Cities, A Billion Squatters. I tracked down a version of that at a used bookstore down in the States. And so I ordered it. He was one of the main interview subjects of this documentary. And what he said was, slums are not the problem, rather they're the solution. And everything just opened up for me when he said that. And I
have to explain that.
That's the power of these old school documentaries, is that they're able to get across ideas that are, like nobody would say that nowadays. You can't say that nowadays, But the idea is that governments, municipalities, whatever, if they've got, they've got a certain base of the taxpayer group that wants that gone. Yeah. They featured a church, a fellow who he was a pastor in New Jersey, and I guess he bought a chunk of land or something, 20 acres or something like that. It was 10 miles from a city or whatever the case was, and he set up a tent city, and it was completely unregulated. But he was there every day. He was making sure that if somebody's tent ripped at night, they were able to get another tent and stuff like that. And it was just this growing community of people that were kind of self-sufficient now. They were completely off the grid. There was no services, but there was just tons of dignity.
Yeah.
And one of the things towards the end of that story arc that they talked about was that there were some developers that wanted that land. And so they were using the city council to begin to exercise bylaws and other different things to try to get them evicted. And then, of course, they were being, sneaky and underhanded, and, they'd sneak in and pull away 2 or 3, vehicles in the middle of the night, or, on the edge of the road by the property where the road entrance is in, they dumped a whole bunch of wood chips, like a small, like I don't know, like 20 yards of wood chips. Wow. Like you're not allowed to dump anywhere. You know what I mean? Like you have to take that to a proper landfill. But somebody came in and just dumped all this crap on their land, and so there's warfare going on back and forth against these people, and it's like, none of the social services that these people were trying to access worked, but this was, and I think they had
That's
70.
A good point. That's a good point.
They had like 70 people, I think, in this tent city, and I think by the time the winter. This would have been 2013. So by the time the winter of 2013, 2014 came up, this Pastor Steve figured that they'd have about 100 people. And we've got to stop looking at homeless people now as being something that needs to be cleaned up. And this is the thing that I get disinvited from dinner parties for saying. We have to normalize this. In other words, every city needs to have a slum. And that slum needs to develop organically and without interference from the government, with certain exceptions, into its own org. And that if you look at anthropologists studying these slums now for generations, they find a wisdom and an intelligence and an innate sense of humanity within them. Of course, I mean, depending on the circumstances, depending on the climate, the geography, whatever, some of them are easier to grow than others. But that's the thing. I mean, you look at the mega slums, where you've got 1 million people living without electricity.
Yeah.
Without running water.
I mean, I'm back to being concerned about it's a winter city. We live in a winter place.
Yeah, and there's winter slums. There's slums where there's like 4 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to receiving this book, and I'm gonna give that a little break now because thanks to this author, I was able to find the language. That I needed to. Slums are not the problem; they're the solution.
I mean, where I'm with you more than anything else is that is a very valuable type of documentary.
Right, and I think to bring this back to Fritter Hollow now and ideas, that I would like to put a pin in that is that at some point in time, it has to be funded.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind looking at producing some documentaries, maybe even just short. It doesn't have to be like an hour-long documentary. Like that was.
I'm all. But we're going to talk about this. This will be the next subject.
Yeah.
But before I get there, I just want to quickly. My mind went here.
Okay.
A lot of people, especially Canadians, have a lot to say about the CBC, whether they're for or against it. That's a hot topic.
It's true.
But no matter what your position on that is, there is almost no better YouTube channel than the CBC documentary channel.
Yep.
And we don't talk about that enough as a society. There is some fucking amazing things that the CBC has done on there.
Well, I mean, they've certainly lost their way. We know that.
Yeah.
Right? It's been made public.
Yeah.
There's some lawsuits that are going on now.
Yeah.
But given where they started, up until 10 years ago, they had been, along with the BBC, producing some of the best content in the world.
Absolutely.
For all time. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And a National Film Board and all those groups,
it's a good standard to shoot for.
It is.
Is my point.
It is.
And I'm inspired by that.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
So documentaries. Here's some documentary ideas, because this is something I kick around from time to time.
Okay.
One thing that has intrigued me is the idea of us, you would need some sort of team or money to pull this off, but The idea of sponsoring somebody that wants to do something fucking interesting, and in exchange we get the documentary, they get what they want. Here's an example of what I mean. What if we came across this 17-year-old kid or even 20-year-old that really wanted to become a professional wrestler, but had no clue where to start, right? We could kind of fund a little bit, but help them get through the process of like, well, maybe it's a little bit acting classes, maybe it's a little bit fitness and muscle building, maybe it's wrestling school, maybe it's connections, I don't know. Let's figure this out. Let's go through the process and then document over the course of 2 or 3 years, trying to turn somebody into a professional wrestler. Or even like a simpler version of that that's more modern day, somebody like that just wants to be a YouTuber, but has no idea what they want to, no idea about production, no idea what they want to talk about, what they want their show to be about, and like literally help them try to launch a YouTube brand.
Yeah, it seems very laboratory, but the thing that impacts me about that is it's actually a massive conflict of interest. Like, I think you could do one or you could do the other.
Explain.
Well, if you're making a documentary about a process that you're directly impacting, that to me lacks authenticity. There's some disingenuousness to it.
I don't view it as a hands-off documentation process. Like, I don't view like that would be more of a journalist's approach, I think. I don't view it necessarily as that. I view it as, well, we're going to try to make this thing happen. Let's see what happens. Like, we would be part of this story.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it's not. This isn't like a piece of journalism.
I
like,
see. Okay.
This isn't neutral journalism.
Okay. All right.
This is what we're going to try to do, and this might blow up in our faces, but I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Okay. All right. A little bit like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Worth talking about, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, and where some of this idea comes from too is,
Yeah.
I met somebody recently that told me exactly that they would like to be a YouTuber, but had no experience, was very shy, didn't know what they wanted to be a YouTuber about. They just wanted to be a YouTuber. And I think that's great. Like, I think it's great that there's something you want to do, but you have no idea exactly how you want to approach it, yet you've still got the balls to say, I would like to do this. Right? It's kind of like saying, I'd like to be a dancer. Well, what kind of dance? I don't know. You know, but you've got that fundamental dream. There's something in you that is forcing you to put yourself out enough to tell someone that you want to be a dancer. You just don't have any fucking information.
Yeah, and like, let's say 1 in 100 of those stories turn out to be absolutely remarkable. Like wow. Like the 1 in 100 turns out to be like a 1 in a million. But I think that for the most part, though, and this is where I'm changing now, because my whole life I've been on board with helping people achieve their dreams. In fact, I'd come up with a long time ago, like 20 years ago, I came up with an idea of starting a not-for-profit called the Dream Factory, right. You know, where you would basically help people achieve their dreams. In fact, for the longest time, my LinkedIn bio said, how did it say now? It's gone now, but it's, something about like, I help other people achieve their dreams. Like that's essentially my career in a nutshell.
Yeah. You
know, I've never been, you know, the one to take the spotlight, but, you know, more like a kingmaker. I'll help you get into the spotlight, you know, and then when I achieve that, whether it's through business or arts or whatever, that's where I get my fulfillment.
Yeah.
You know, is in helping someone else do that. But I realize now that I've tried to help so many people who've come in with the best of intentions, but it just wasn't there. You know what I mean? And I find that that's the crucible, that's the refiner's fire, is somebody to get out there and be on their own. It's like that little turtle. Have you ever been where they release baby turtles into the ocean?
No.
So they come up with a bucket of turtles, and they're tiny little guys. They're like about maybe 2 inches across.
Yeah.
And they're cute as heck, like these little baby sea turtles. And they put them on the sand. And then you're not supposed to, like, if they get turned around and they start going back up the beach, you're not supposed to, like, they have to figure out how to get into the water on their own, because that imprinting process calibrates their entire life's compass, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
And the worst thing in the world is for you to see a little baby turtle and it gets turned around and starts going up the other way. Oh, and here comes a gull. And
Yeah.
he's lunch now. You want to intervene. But if you intervene and you smack that bird and you pick up that baby sea turtle and you put it in the ocean, you've now condemned it to death because it has no way of figuring out.
Okay, this is interesting.
And so that, I don't want to be that.
No, I entirely see your point. I entirely see what you're saying. But what it tells me, what your story tells me, is that I'm not exactly communicating my idea properly. And I have this problem. So I'm going to try to make a difference here. If our point was to have a show where we actually help somebody become a wrestler, like if becoming the wrestler was the story, then you're right. I'm with you. That's not something I want to do. What I'm trying to do is tell a human story that people can relate to about somebody who's trying to live, somebody who's trying to actually live their life instead of just being a cog in the machine, working and paying bills and feeling unfulfilled. Right? So I'm trying to tell the story. I would like to tell the story of somebody who is just trying to live and do something outrageous and see what happens. It's not about, it wouldn't be about, oh, this person, this is a show about somebody trying to be a wrestler. That's like the subtext for a show that's really just about somebody who like has dreams that we can relate to. And the real, like what really happens when people get behind them and like encourage them a little bit. So the point isn't them becoming a wrestler. The point is their experience, their life, their goals, their ambition, It's very difficult to explain the vision I have in my head.
I think I get it. But I would say then that the real story of that series would be how much we fail. It would be embracing failure, right? Because when you think about it, when somebody
embracing failure could be the fucking title.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, a little bit like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. It's or musicians on the Titanic. It's like it's got the end baked in. It's like I don't need to sit and listen to it. I know how it ends.
Right, that's exactly my point, though. The end result isn't the fucking point. The journey is. The relation is. People listening to this person who took this risk.
I agree.
And see, like you talked about the turtle that turned around and walked the wrong way.
That's right.
That's the turtle I want to see what fucking happens.
Yeah, but I'm saying though is that if you've got the underlying theme as the title now, it's like, as I say, it gives it away.
Yeah.
But I think that if you would be okay with spending time, money, energy, and what else, capturing and producing stories that largely expose our failures, that could be a powerful thing. But that's what it would be. That's what it would be.
I'm intrigued by the idea.
Or then you'd be putting your finger on the scale and you'd be saying, yeah, we're not going to do those last 5 that we were working on. Didn't work out. We're going to stick with this one where they actually became, the thing, right? Became the Formula One.
That would be its own monster. Yeah, like if something did actually.
The temptation is wide, right?
Let me just as like a test scenario.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in doing this, but just as a test scenario for this concept. Earlier, we talked about acting. I forget the context. I don't even remember if the mics were on. We were talking about acting. I think it was because you were talking about headshots. Like the headshots is a step that somebody who wants to be an actor would have to take at some point, right? At least historically. And it got me thinking, like, I think it would be interesting to be an actor. I'm not saying I have any drive to be an actor, but it would be interesting. And I wonder if that's something I could do. Like, could I take acting classes and maybe try to be in a stage production or something? Like, is that? But I mean, with me, there's additional complications, obviously, right? Because of disability, I walk with crutches. I think I don't look like a typical fucking person. Am I wrong? I don't know. Like, I don't think I present as average.
Yeah, but you could play a role that called for that nobody else could.
Right. So it would be, I think though, like big picture, if I set my goal, like, I would like to make my living being an actor, I think that's pretty fucking ambitious, bordering on unrealistic. But man, it could be an interesting story to fucking try. right? So like that's kind of what I'm saying.
I think it's been done, and like I think Tim Ferriss, as a matter of fact, was one of the first people to do it. I know there's people out there. The names aren't coming to my mind right now, but there's people who. Matt Develia is another one who was doing a YouTube channel,
Right.
and it would be like, for 30 days I'm going to do this, or I'm going to learn how to speak a language, or I'm going to, like, it was all these different ways of all these different achievements that they documented.
But do they document it from the perspective of this is where I am along the process to getting to my goal? Because that's not what I'm really after.
I mean, there's various permutations of that, but I think the interesting thing is, though, is that as somebody who's kind of obsessed with story, I find that an interesting thing. But it's not. It's an idea. It's not a story. There's no story to that. Do you know what I mean?
I'd want to find the story. Like I'd want to come back to the whole inner world concept. Like
Inner world is interesting, but remember now, it's like putting a microscope on some little creature. It's interesting, but there's no story, right? Like that's the thing.
I don't know if I have the problem with that you do. I might. I'm not saying I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there has to be a story.
Well, I mean, nature shows is a good example, right?
It could
Like,
be an experience.
Shows. Yeah, people love nature shows, and there's really no story there. I mean, sometimes you get your David Attenborough stuff.
Like, things do happen.
Yeah, things happen. Like, oh, this one ate that one. Okay, they're hunting for it. Are they going to catch it? There's some tension, some conflict.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, didn't think I'd see that on television. All right.
Yeah.
And I mean, so there's a bit of a dopamine hit there, but overall, like if you're doing a story about, I mean, penguins, right? What was that March of the?
Yeah, I remember that.
What was it? It was huge.
Yeah.
It was like a blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was about these two penguins or whatever in there. Can't remember what it was called now. But
something like that focuses on inner worlds, I think, is interesting. I think of music. Like when you think of, generally speaking, in popular music, right? A song is all about tension and release when it comes down to it. Like,
yes.
Like that,
yes.
that is the essence of what writing a song is.
And that's what story is.
Except for jazz.
Except for
jazz.
I totally disagree with you.
Jazz swims in textures.
No, there is so much tension and release in jazz. It's freaking unbelievable.
Sure, it's always a part of music.
Yeah.
But a jazz song, like when you listen to an entire like jazz piece, generally, it's about swimming in a texture for a while.
Sure, it is. Yeah.
I know jazz songs that are basically one chord all the way through.
Sure. But it's pushing and pulling in ways that the average person is
within a certain texture.
Within a certain texture, within a certain genre, within a certain set of parameters. Absolutely. Right. But it is nothing but tension and release. Especially the handoff.
I don't want to get lost in the. I disagree with you on that, but I don't want to get lost in the weeds.
Okay, fair enough.
I guess what I'm saying.
I guess what I'm trying to say too is if you're going to look at an inner world, which I like, by the way, I really like that concept. I like the idea. I like doing that. I like seeing that. I love those. Like my favorite kind of movies. I mentioned an episode or two ago that I didn't get fantasy. Yeah. My favorite kind of movies are people dramas, like and ensemble casts. Like I love Magnolia and Gosford Park and just like all these huge, massive, big cast. Pretty much almost anything by Wes Anderson. I love.
Yeah.
Coen Brothers, I love.
Oh yeah, Coen Brothers are amazing.
So
we're very similar.
Yeah. But I mean, like to go and see an action film, okay, all right.
But in everything films, you're talking about, though, has the structure of basically 3 acts. And that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to necessarily tell 3 acts. I want to live in the texture of one.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say now is that that's a really out there playground. Because you don't know where you are,
right?
You don't know if the idea is to communicate. I guess it's a little bit like musique concrète, right? It's a form of electronic music made usually with tape machines, but you're just getting these tape loops going, and they're interacting with each other, and that's it. That's the music. It's pointless. It's not melodic. It's there's no structure to it. It's just out there. It's just sonic.
I mean, we do have to structure it at some point. You're right.
It's sonic goo. Yeah, and I think the thing is if you're trying to elicit some sort of a response in someone, like, wow, I really enjoyed watching that, then there has to be some ingredients that would make them, you know what I mean? Otherwise, let's put a camera on a wall that's been freshly painted
Yeah.
and 10 hours of that.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Watching paint dry.
Yeah, and I mean, anything that touches this whole inner world concept I have in my head, it requires somebody to be uncomfortably transparent.
Yeah, totally. And you also have to, and again, talk about 3 acts, but you also have to say, why are we taking them there? Mm-hmm. Is this just pure voyeurism?
Yes. Well, I think it's relational voyeurism. That would be my intent. My intent is for people to see themselves mirrored in others. That ultimately is my point. Because I suspect.
That's really, really succinct, by the way. I like that, what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suspect that we're all playing the same bullshit game just because nobody wants to go first and say, this is really what I think. This is really
I think a lot of it is
like,
that. Yeah.
I'm doing this thing because I was embarrassed when I was 5 years old about something, and I just don't want to see myself that way.
Sure.
Like, I think we all have very, very deep damage that way, and relating to one another that way would be a monstrous step towards healing as a fucking species.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get there, but that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to tell my story, because the podcast I'm working on with my trauma memoir is, I think I have a very clear and big example of something that I think everybody deals with on a smaller level.
Yeah.
And that's where the relation comes. Like, I can point at one event, and many people can't point at one event. I can. But that makes it easier to tell the story, because it's one event that did something really, really dramatic in me. That makes it kind of an interesting story, maybe, but everybody, I think, has smaller versions of things along the way.
That's interesting. I mean, again, it can be like it is voyeurism. There's no question, but it can be, I guess, like it's like the red table thing that what's his name, Will Smith's Jada Pinkett was doing. You know, almost like a struggle session.
Yeah, I saw clips of that.
And you'd have people go and confess whatever their thing is, and you may see yourself in that. But I guess it's like if you're not going to do anything with it, like, what's the point? I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I struggle with on this. It's like, oh, some fascinating possibilities there, but it's like, unless you're going to do something with it.
That's what my favorite thing about this show is becoming this. We're falling into a format. I toss a fucking idea out, and then you fucking show me the missing piece of why it's not practical.
Maybe that does happen sometime. But again, I just went over all the episodes.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, man, you throw out so many, like, you throw out ideas that I don't even realize are ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I only catch them as ideas after listening to them 2 or 3 times after. It's like, oh, that was another idea. Man, got to start making a catalog. That's why the Obsidian Vault, I think.
The Obsidian thing's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be, okay, let's click on Derek's ideas. Boom. Oh, look how many ideas are there. Didn't realize. So that's pretty magic. But as a producer, pretty much my whole life is that like, you've got to make something from a concept into a reality, whether it's a show, a song, a photograph. Like, you've got it. There's a certain technical aspect that can't be denied.
Yeah.
In order to bring that thing to fruition. Now, as a producer, maybe my particular set of tools doesn't get the result you want. You know, that's very often. I mean, somebody sits down with a band and produces the band, and they don't get.
Would it get a result, a worthy? I'm more concerned with having a worthy result than I am with having the result I wanted.
Yeah, worthy result. That's right. Yeah, and sometimes as a producer, and this is what I've struggled with my whole life, is that I don't know if I can produce that. I don't know if I can bring that to fruition. I see what the person wants. I don't have the skill set to make that into a thing. That's been a very real struggle of my entire
but I don't think
career.
there's any question that you've got the skill set to make it a worthy thing, just maybe not exactly what somebody else had in their head.
No, a worthy thing.
Oh, I've seen and heard enough that I have zero doubt of that with you.
No, each time I start something, each time I start producing something, I have no idea.
I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. But your ability, there's no question about.
Oh, I have skills and talent. There's no question. Yeah, and knowledge. I mean, granted.
Yeah.
But again, if you were going to pull, Robert John Mutt Lang
Yep.
is not going to do the same job as Brian Eno.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But both get worthy results.
Both get results.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're always worthy. I mean, again, I'm listening to, I won't go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm listening to some CDs and I'm going, this is not that good.
Yeah.
This is not that good.
Yeah. I feel like we're kind of done for the
So
day.
I maybe and so I've got an interesting little a little dessert, a little aperitif
Okay.
on all of this, and that is any artist, no matter what their medium, wants to connect.
Yeah.
They want to, I mean, unless they're completely psychopathic, unless they're just out there, on some, wide end of the autism spectrum, just painting and they're oblivious to humanity around them. There are some people like that.
Right.
But if you're spending your entire life in whatever medium, you when somebody says, wow, that really spoke to me.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing it. That's
Yeah.
why you're doing it. You may not even be aware that that's why you're doing it, but that's why you're doing it. You want to connect as one human being to another
Yeah.
with the very esoteric language that is your art.
Yeah. In a way that only you can do.
That's right.
I realized that when I started writing little licks in my songs.
Exactly.
That's what that was
Only
about.
you can
It was making it something only I could do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And that was Sean Tucker, the YouTube photographer dude, that I bought his book, Meaning in the Making, and I've gone through that like 2-3 times now. I've in fact almost every line on every page is underlined now because it keeps speaking to me in ways that confound me, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, that's what we need in your art. We don't need you to copy someone else. We don't need you to copy your heroes. What we need is for you to do something that only you can do.
Yeah.
Because when you do that and we receive that, it's the only thing in our existence that makes us feel less alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on this. And you have to choose something that just naturally appeals to you, because if it appeals to you, it will appeal to others. And then you have to be willing to put the consistency in that most people aren't.
Yeah.
Those are the two keys.
Yeah.
That's how you get there.
Yeah, well, you have to. There's a discipline involved, obviously. Right. Obviously, if you're going to use paintbrushes, you got to learn how to use them. I mean, that's the thing.
So the practical part of this is that at some point, me and you have to choose something.
Yes.
And commit to it for a while.
Yeah. Well, and then there's a whole other thing, like how do you pay for it? Like it's a decahedron. No, I don't know. It's a multi-sided geometric shape. Yeah. A decadahedron.
So here's a question then.
Yeah.
I know that you're working on your own projects. I'm working on mine.
Yeah.
So for the next year, do we just focus on that and keep doing this until we have projects to show for ourselves, and then can devote the time to something else?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a benefit to these little chats.
There is. And even if we spend a year doing this with almost no audience, I think it could get us where we're going.
Oh yeah, and I don't care if we ever have an audience. I really don't. But
for this I don't. But I do want to do something.
Yes. And I'm saving all my bandwidth right now for your story podcast.
Thank you, because I'm getting more and more invested as we go.
Like I want to go all in on that, and for the length of time that we'll be producing that's going to be the only thing I do. So some of my projects right now are older ones, and I'm just getting them done, getting them out of the way, so I have that bandwidth. But here's what I wanted to, and we can end on this, is just kind of a little fun thing, and I've been struggling with this for a long time to put it into words. And I don't know if it's something neurological that's happening to me, or not. But I often get these little flashbacks. I call them these little flashbacks. But they're not just memories. They're very often fully sensorical or sensorious. I don't know what the right form of that word. They're multisensory experiences.
Right.
And it's almost like it's beyond a deja vu. It's not like I had this feeling, I've been here before. It's not like that. But it's like, whoa, I am back in, and fill in the blank, whatever it might be, right? Yeah. I'm back in Mexico in 2005, walking on the beach at 7:30 in the morning, and the smell of the air and the sound, like I'm there right now. It's almost like a portal, like a multi-dimensional universe, multiverse kind of portal has opened up, and I'm back there, right? And then it goes away. It only lasts for a few seconds. So what I came up with then was a repertoire of experiences re-triggered with a sampler.
Yeah.
So you could assign them to a key on a keyboard.
Yeah.
And then you could do this weird kind of juxtaposition or this jumping, this hyper jumping of these experiences, and then what would that feel like if that was composed? Because this morning I had another one. I was in Creston, BC in the mid-90s. Just the way the breeze came in through the window, the temperature in the air, the light in the morning, early morning, and the birds. I was like, I am standing in Creston, BC, right here, right now.
That's
my thing. So
this is only tangential to what you said, but I think it's relevant.
Yeah.
You should really look at EMDR.
Okay, yeah. You mentioned that a long time ago.
When I did it for therapy, that happened to me. Mm-hmm. Like I remember walking out of the building and I didn't even realize 1987 had a taste to it, but I fucking tasted it. So like it does. And it just, and that's making its way into my memoir even. Like that's a huge part towards the end.
I will look that up.
Yeah, you should experiment with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it also makes me think of virtual reality to a degree too. I think that's some of the potential appeal of virtual reality. Like instead of you can look back at a photo of yourself being in Mexico in 2005, but if you had VR recording capability at the time, you could actually live it again in your bedroom.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a few things that my mind kind of goes to.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of possibilities.
But EMDR though, for sure.
Okay.
Especially if you get it from somebody who knows what they're fucking doing.
Yeah.
There's huge potential.
Oh, well, I mean, that's the trick nowadays.
Yeah.
With any kind of
as soon as they come up with something, there's always like people that are willing to do a hacky version of it for $50.
Yep.
So
or 350.
Yeah, or they'll sell you a course for 200 where you can just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's wrap this up.
Right on.